time for Verbal Tap, episode 17, the show that proves fighting is definitely easier from outside the cage. I'm here, and I have Raf Esparza on the line with me. Raf, how are you doing tonight?
Very well, thank you for asking. I appreciate it. Always cordial, always nice. Kevin Phillips, thank you.
Very well, indeed. Are you... I don't even know how to hype up this episode with enough gusto. For those listening, here's what we have. We have the following people on tonight. Bubba the Menace McDaniel.
Nice. He's coming back.
By popular demand. People had so much fun with him on our first episode. They were like, yeah, hey, you got to load that guy up again. And, of course, we were able to convince Bubba to do it again. Thankfully, he gives us some really good stuff, including a Tyson story. That's a preview. That's what we call in the biz a teaser. So you're going to want to listen in. And then after that, we have a 6'6" member of the Ultimate Fighter House, Luke Barnatt.
No, we don't.
We do.
No, that's not true.
It's, Raf, hand to whatever it is I believe in on Easter. This shit is going down. We have 2 interviews, one from someone that just fought last week and one from someone who's scheduled to fight this week. Isn't that crazy?
I don't know why people would want to do this show.
I think I have a theory.
Okay.
It's all about your Ultimate Fighter review.
Yes!
It's so on point. It's so MMA News Award ready that people can't help it. They're just like, definitely. That's it.
News Award ready is the dumbest phrase anybody's ever uttered. It's ready to be acknowledged on the news. Oh, it's noteworthy? No, I did not say that.
Let's be very careful about what I said. They are important contextually to make sure I don't get misquoted.
Love it.
So, without further ado, because we have so much to talk about, we also, throughout this episode, live breaking news with the Gustafsson fight, this UFC fight coming up. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But first, it's time for the Ultimate Fighter review. And this time I have no problem telling the crowd Bubba the Menace McDaniel is on the line, which should
What's up?
There he is, which he's eating right now, for those of you tuning in.
That ahi tuna was still in my mouth as I said that.
Well, there's our catchphrase. So, Raf, are you ready to do the 1-minute review, this time knowing there is a very dangerous striker on the line listening?
You know, I live my life dangerously, so this isn't too different than any other day for me.
You live your life dangerously?
Yeah, man.
Life at the Tonight Show can get pretty hectic, can it?
Hey, man, I don't know if you've read the headlines, but yes, it can get very dangerous for those of us working there.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question. Does that mean that I'm considered a dangerous person?
Yes.
You are the most dangerous person on this line.
Oh man, see, now that's an achievement. That's an achievement.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 1-minute review of The Ultimate Fighter. Please put on your seatbelts, because here we go.
Previously on The Ultimate Fighter, Kelvin choked out Bubba and got a training date with Ronda Rousey. Colin Hart beat Kevin, Luke knocked out Gilbert, Dylan overcame Zach, and then the quarterfinal announcements were made, and Bubba wonders what the hell he did to get a fight against Uriah, ? John Jones thinks that everyone can beat everyone, but Bubba says that kick against Adam is still in his head. Kelvin thinks that Colin's going to give him a good fight. I still don't think they think I can box, but you know, that's what I came to do, which is win the fight. And Colin seems to think the same. I think Kevin's going to give me a good fight. You know, he's a scrappy guy on the ground. But John Jones thinks that Colin is so extraordinary at jiu-jitsu, he asks him to get his ninja on and do some kicks in the octagon. But Colin wants redemption with his fists. Chael seems to think that people underestimate Kelvin so much, they even pick them last on his team. Gentlemen, I have your attention, please. Oh, wait, I already have it, because you saw Ronda Rousey next to me. Ronda does a pretty funny Chael impression. I got a guy here who really likes you, and I think you really need to come motivate him. Ronda teaches the guy some judo and spares them all their arms. Chael is taken aback by Kelvin's improvement. Ronda Rousey says that her mom taught her that no one deserves to beat her, and says that fighting is about respectfully unrespecting your opponent. Seems Chael got so distracted holding up the towel for Kelvin during the weigh-ins, he gives everyone a free show. And we're at the fights, round 1. 10 seconds in, and hands are flying everywhere. Kelvin and Colin manage to get some solid shots in before Kelvin connects with a strong left that drops Colin to the ground. Wasting no time, Kelvin goes in for the finish. They weren't lying about the speed in his hands. And Dana is impressed by Colin's toughness. Chael uses the word interesting to describe a fight again. Says Dylan is much better than being picked last, but boy does Luke have a reach. Luke, he's going to come at me hard, but I think I can take some punishment and give it back. The plan's to go in there, punch the guy and beat him. Meanwhile, Coach Stonehorse and Dylan have a strong bond. Turns out he just needed some positive reinforcement. Shut the fuck up! Is that Mike Tyson? Wait, tell me Dana is not putting him in as a third wild card. Luke tells us he doesn't have a kitchen or a TV and says that England is kind of a shithole. Yikes. And Dylan is remarkably calm about the fights. For me to beat Luke, I just have to be who I am. I feel strong. I feel powerful. And it's just a matter of time before that happens. And we cut to commercial. Before the fight, Stonehorse has a picture of the kids to motivate Dylan. Shrewd move, Stonehorse. Shrewd move. And we're back for round 1. Dylan gets a takedown, but Luke is remarkably agile on his back. At the half point, Dylan has the guillotine attempt. That doesn't quite work, but seems to give him more confidence in the fight. And then Luke springs back to action. He doesn't even look remotely gassed. Round 2, we've got a stand-up fight now, with Luke controlling the action. Even when he's on his back, Luke is getting elbows in like crazy, and Dylan's starting to look a little gas, even as John Jones is yelling out successories. You're winning, Luke! You're winning! Toward the end of the round, Dylan goes in for a rear naked choke, but we get the buzzer right as Luke seems to try and flip out of it. It's crazy. And Kaiser says we're getting a third round as Dana explains to Tyson what's going on. Third round equals happy Dana. Good fucking judging. Round 3. Oh no, Stornhorse has the family picture again. Luke gets in some solid knees that slow Dylan down, but Dylan keeps pressing forward. Technique is just out the window as we've got a slugfest here. And when Dylan's hands drop, his saving grace seems to be his timing, as he's able to block a few shots, press Luke up against the cage, and end this thing. Now, folks, that was a fight. Luke takes the loss in stride and says it hopes and brings him back stronger. And after that fight, can't say we disagree. Iron Mike gives him a few words of advice before photo ops. Next week on The Ultimate Fighter, Jimmy versus Josh and Uriah versus Bubba. We think, wait, is he? Why is he lounging around in sweats? What's Quit doing on a treadmill? What's happening? Stop fucking around with us, FX. And we can't wait for next week, and we're spent.
Woo! You really overexerted yourself accent-wise.
Honestly, I'm kind of I'm disappointed that there's no impression of me so far. I hear an impression of everybody else, but then when it comes time to, I'm thinking, okay, it's about to be a Bubba impression here because everybody else has one.
Oh, there's a Bubba impression. I just need some more talking heads. So next week there will definitely be a Bubba impression. Do not worry about that.
He does do a Bubba impression when you're not on the line sometimes.
Yes.
That's okay. I think everybody does. Everybody's got their own kind of Bubba impression. I even had Adam Sella while we were in the house. I was like, Adam, I've heard you do everybody but me. I was like, do me. And when he did it, I was like, damn, do I really sound that silly? And it was pretty spot on. So I guess I really do sound that silly.
I will tell you this. After our podcast, some people were coming up to me and they were just like, wow, he sounded really unique. And I started doing your voice to them. And they go, that's pretty okay. And I go, yeah, it turns out when you listen to a guy for about an hour, you start to get their cadence down.
Yeah, that could probably happen.
And I will tell you this as an update. So I go to my jiu-jitsu coach and I'm like, hey, Bubba, he called me out. We got to make me like 1,000 times better. And he's like, man, you are so on your own.
So on your own. I figured he'd say, that guy sucks anyway.
No, dude. He was actually, the best part is, he's super positive. So he's like, he does? That's awesome. That's great for you. He's tall, isn't he? He's way taller than you. And I was like, yep, we're doing wonders for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually think, by the way, Bubba, I can't prove this, but I bet people that fight, like actually metal to the ground, probably don't hate you as much as the people that watch the show that don't fight.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. I even got some today. that was like Easter. I had people telling me, Happy Easter and stuff. I had people like telling me off about, that I don't deserve to have a good Easter. Cause I'm like, okay, what's wrong with people sometimes? Seriously, like, I don't deserve to have a good Easter.
What a specific insult.
I know, right? It's like, dude, like, what is going on? They're like, oh, he's a pussy, something like, you don't deserve to have a good Easter. I'm like, okay, like, Either way, it was just really awkward.
Oh, man, that's really weird.
I'm assuming they're not listening to us anyway, but they can go fuck themselves. If any of them do happen to click on it, go fuck yourselves.
Even if they are listening to us, they're fucking idiots for doing so, because they're like, man, I hate this guy so much, I'm going to listen to this podcast.
Yeah, I don't get it, but either way, like I say, I am very hated, and it's the thing that I think too is people tell me, that you don't deserve to be in the UFC, and if you expect to make any money there or something like that, I wouldn't because I'm a loser. I'm like, man, I thought I won a lot of money before, in other fights before I got to this, but that's okay. I guess I'm a loser.
Yeah,
but.
They're very specific. We did get a few people that were actually interested. They had a different view of you after hearing you on the podcast for a while.
That's the best part, I think, about being on your podcast is I did receive about, I'd say 15 people that said that they had changed their mind on me and their opinion just because of the podcast. So I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate byproduct of our journalistic integrity. Did that sound like a real thing, Raf? What I just said?
No, we're changing
I was just
hearts.
about to ask, what was that?
I don't know. We don't let Kevin talk a lot, and when we do, we get into trouble.
Yeah.
It's okay, guys. I still love y'all.
We have to ask about the fights. What's the climate like when Tyson is sitting around the cage?
Here's the thing is we're sitting there, and then all of a sudden we didn't know that he was in the back in the locker rooms talking to everybody, and Zach Cummings runs out and he's like, I just met Mike Tyson, and I'm sitting there telling him, I'm like, yeah, you're a fucking liar, shut up, and no, next thing I know, Mike Tyson runs out. I'm like, oh my god. And I had a pee my pants moment, Oh,
and, yeah, you have to. He's like our generation. We all worshipped him.
Yeah.
Oh. So I'm sitting there, and I had that pee my pants moment, and I kind of stand up to go over and like shake his hand, and I realized that my hand is like really sweaty all of a sudden. So I got to do the wipe off before I hand it to him. I think he might have thought I was trying to stroke my own leg or something before then. You never know.
He's probably had weirder, but that's awesome. If you see Mike again, tell him Verbal Tap said hello, if you don't mind.
The best part was, so I've been doing Mike Tyson impressions for like 3 weeks before he got there. I don't know if it's on an extra, a webcast, anything like that right now, but I was doing Mike Tyson impressions. So when he got there, and I'm going, oh my God,
someone's gonna say something.
I wonder if he knows I've been doing this. And so, nobody had said anything, and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna throw this out there at him because he's gonna get there. I'm gonna be that guy that was up, trying to, be the Mike Tyson groupie. And then, afterwards be like, this guy was making fun of me. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right. So I was like, listen, before any of this happens, I've been doing impressions of you and everything, and I want you to just know what's going on. And he's like, well, now you got to do the impression for me. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm in trouble. And I'm like, oh, no, I can't do the impression. I can't. Yeah. I was like, I can't do the impression. And Dana comes out, and he goes, oh, well, you told him, so now you got to do it. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like,
Dana was hoping you would get knocked out. That's what Dana was hoping. Dana's like, I'm going to get footage of Mike Tyson punching out Bubba in the highest-rated show ever.
Yeah, I was about to have my own hangover moment. It was exactly what ran through my head. So I was like, well, it's going to be a story to tell the grandkids. So I get ready to start doing this, and I sit there and I start going, so, I'm going to go into the fight right here, and I'm going to put your chiclets down your throat, and I'm going to make you kiss the back of your head. And then out of nowhere, I just kind of went, okay, but there's that woman over there. I'm going to go fornicate with her. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm getting knocked out. Here we go. He sits down in a chair and starts slapping another chair, and I'm like, oh, he liked it. All right.
You abused Mike Tyson.
Yes, I amused Mike Tyson by using fornication in a sentence to him.
Whatever you got to do, man. Whatever you got to do.
Everybody around freaked out. They were like, "What are you doing? Shut up! Shut up!" When I started doing it, but they didn't realize that I had been told to do it. Like Uriah, Zach, everybody around that was standing right within listening distance, like eyes lit up, like, "Oh my God, what is he doing?" And they were waiting on the hangover moment themselves, but it never came. And he sat down and loved it, and I lived.
Hey,
that's a plus.
Win-win.
That's awesome, man.
So to get back to the Ultimate Fighter, is Kelvin kind of like a front runner now after he just dismantled Colin in that first fight?
I'll tell you like this. The way that I felt about it is I felt that the way that the Colin-Kelvin fight went was, anybody's fight at that time, because whenever that happened, Colin came straight out and was like, "I'm going to throw hands." I'm like, well, get after it, buddy. More power to you, And he goes out there, and literally, that's what they did. They went out and they just swung on each other. It was like watching a tough man contest, I was like, all right, somebody's about to go down.
30 seconds of grappling just filled with fists.
Yeah. And, it was just the way it happened. At that point, I thought, well, Colin just got caught, So, and, if you give Kelvin the credit, he did get caught beforehand, too. Watch, there's a left hook that Colin lands.
Yeah.
That I remember thinking, oh, we got him good and something's about to happen. And then all of a sudden, Colin's on his face.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to give Kelvin the credit of, well, the dude's got a chin. The dude's got, he can take a shot. He can get out there. He can grapple. He's going to throw hands back at you. So, yeah, it makes him a more dangerous guy at that point altogether.
Yeah, Raf, you sent me a video of the Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
Bubba
So on the
ahead.
other side, I guess when Kelvin was trying to cut weight, Jimmy tells him a story about Star Wars. And Jimmy does it in his trademark, well, I'm about to tell you the most exciting story that's ever existed. There's a guy, Obi-Wan, gets cut in half. And, yeah. And it's like the weirdest thing in the world. It was so intriguing, but you saw in that moment, Kelvin, like, when he's cutting weight, he looked really out of it in those moments.
Dude, I didn't even realize that had happened. I didn't know it. I haven't seen it.
It's funny, and I've given Jimmy a heads up that I may have to do a sequence of that, of him just retelling famous stories at this point.
Huh. Yeah. I know that Kelvin, I believe that was the weigh-in where he missed weight for, like, and had to go back in to hit weight. Like, it only took him, like, another 10 minutes. He was like, they're like, nope, we need a little more. And he stripped down and, fixed it up. No big deal. But, yeah, you could tell that kid, like, had been, like, looking at it like, the last one was a little easier.
Yeah.
They didn't show us that. We didn't know anything about the weight. I'm curious, though. He was in a bathtub, and they were saying it was like his third or fourth soak of that weight. What do they mean by that? What's the mechanics of taking a bath to cut weight?
I'm actually just learning some of that, but it's, like an alcohol bath, Epsom salt baths that they do, and they'll lay in there with the water, I guess, as hot as you can take it with your whole body submerged except for your face, and you lay in there for 20-minute time periods. And they were saying it's 20 in, 20 out. Well, when you're on your 20 out, you get all your sweats and everything else back on, and I guess your core is heated up enough to where you lay there, and they'll cocoon you up in towels and, comforters, things like that, just to keep your body so hot, and you start sweating at that point. Like, I guess you lose more weight out of the tub than in. The tub, being in the tub, is supposed to heat your core up. And I haven't tried it yet myself, but, honestly, from what I'm understanding, though, it doesn't drain you as much either as the sauna does. So it's something that I'm about to do a test run on myself. So
cool.
We'll see what happens.
How's training going for you? You were headed to get hit in the head by John Jones, which I don't know if anyone's heard that name in the fight world, but he's a young incomer at the 205-pound division. I see
that
bright
guy's
things
kind
in
of
his
tough,
future.
and they got to watch out for his reach, something to do with some awkward elbows and everything he throws. I don't know. The guy's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of speculating, but I'm sure we'll get to see him live in action here at UFC 159. How's your training camp going?
As we were saying, got punched in the face really hard by him a few times. You know, got in there and tried to give him what for, and then all of a sudden ate a shit sandwich. You know, it just happens like that. So, but yeah, you know, you try to give this guy whatever, but you know, it's one of those things where you're definitely in there just earning your medal stripes. You know, from being in there getting down with him. So,
well, you're gonna have to.
It's never a fun day in the office.
You're gonna have to relay congratulations. We heard he just got engaged today.
Hey, I'll have to definitely do that for y'all.
Please do. Now, you were also talking a little bit about how excited you were to see Dylan versus Luke in this fight. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, the reason that I had been waiting to see that one was because, like I say, the way that I felt up to that point was like all the fights were good, but there was nothing that was just like a devastating, you know, finish other than the kick. And the kick was abrupt. Yeah. But, you know, and it wasn't necessarily like one of those back and forth battles to, you know, of who's going to do it, who's going to do it, who's going to do it kind of thing, you know. Yeah. But when they started just throwing down in the third, man, and you watch the two dudes just literally, like you were saying, Dylan put his hands down, walked forward, just swinging overhands and hooks. And it was just ridiculous to watch those two fight. And it was like something that you see, you know, in a Rocky movie at the end. And it was great. You know,
that's a perfect way of describing it.
A Rocky movie. It was. Like, they were just firing.
In that third round, it looked like it was just pure heart and adrenaline.
Yep. Heart is the word. And you got to give heart to both of them at that point.
Yeah, of course.
You know, Luke, he ate some shots, you know, even before he went down. He ate shots and tried to return still. And, you know, so you got to give him the heart there. But you look at Dylan, like you were saying, at the end of the second round, Dylan was gassed. He looked tired.
Yep.
And he come out and still, you know, just walking forward, swinging that hard, you know, taking shots back and, you know, still looking for the finish the whole time. That's hard to do in the third round. That's so hard to do.
Oh, believe me, dude. When I saw in that second round, I thought Dylan might lose the fight. And when he came back in that third round and he was just blocking those shots, I mean, he got that timing down so well that in my brain, that's what won him it. You know, he was able to pick his spot just perfectly.
No, I give you that because, honestly, I was scared as to what was going to happen after the second round. I'm like, man, are they going to give a decision, something like that? Because even like you were saying, from Luke's back, Luke was striking. Luke was landing damage. And I'm going, Dylan's head's kind of, you know, busted up again. Well, I wonder what the judges are seeing. You know, judges see him on top. Or do they see the damage? Do they see the takedowns? Do they see... You know, what do they see themselves individually? So you never know at that point when it's supposed to go to a decision. It's always a scary time. And then when they said there's a third round, I was like, oh, holy hell, here we go.
I was just giddy. Like, when they said there was a third round, it was like, thank God. I have no idea who's won this fight, and I'm glad they don't think they do either.
Exactly. That was a perfect way to end it. And then it went out and it had a finish. And it had a definitive winner at that point because I think either way, if that would have went to a decision at that point, neither one of those guys could have felt like, you know, I don't know if I won. I don't know if I lost, you know, because it was crazy back and forth.
What does that do for you psychologically? What's the difference between when you finish a fight and you have a definitive result versus when it goes to a decision? Does it affect you at all?
You know, I've only been to one decision, and it was against Eric Shambari. And I remember standing there going, I know I did some really good things at this part. I know I did some really good things at this part, but, man, he held me down right here in pretty good ways. Or, you know, he defended this submission and had a position on me for this long. And, you know, and I remember the third round thinking, okay, I got to win this round, And I thought, you know, until I got picked up over the dude's shoulder and slammed down, you know, and I was like, oh, man. I was like, the judges probably saw that crazy. Well, then I'm scrambling to try to make something else happen. And you're sitting there going, I don't know. I know I landed more damage in the fight, so I felt like as a fight I would have won that fight. But, you know, in the sport of MMA, I didn't know, and it was a scary feeling, you know, that being my first decision going, am I going to win or am I going to lose? I put in all this work. Am I going to win? And then I ended up winning, you know, which was a great feeling. But, man, decisions are scary.
I believe it.
But
man.
I guess definitely winning the fight definitively is how you always want to do it. I guess other than that fight, I've won definitively or I've lost definitively, and you know, still, even right there, the 3 fights in the house, nothing went to a decision so far. I was supposed to go to a decision, I guess, if you want to say a 2-round fight with Kevin, but, when a guy says, I don't want to fight you no more, that's kind of nice, too.
Yeah, that doesn't count. That's not a decision. We knew who won the fight. If they don't come out for a third round, we know who wins. And that's actually partially what I think we've loved about the show. You can tell guys are fighting not to win, they're fighting to finish the fight.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Everybody there, nobody was looking for any kind of decision. Everybody wanted to go, I beat you.
Good stuff. Raf, you have breaking news for...
Well, we found out the sister publication of Studio MMA, the place I freelance for, has broken news that Alex is maybe out of the fight next week over in Sweden.
Yeah, Gustav, that's crazy, right? Are they gonna try to pull a 155 on us or whatever? Or whatever.
Oh,
what
God.
was that? 152?
Ghost of 151, my friend.
There it is. See, I'm lost. I get hit in the head for a living. I'm not supposed to know numbers.
It's all right, man.
That's right. That's what we're here for.
Exactly what I'm here for.
Thanks for having my back, fellas.
Oh, not a problem.
That was a nice pull, Raf. I'm actually impressed because I couldn't come up with a number.
Dude, if I can't fight, I got to be good at something.
That's true. And mathematic recollection's a good one.
That is the one to have. But yeah, so right now I guess they're scrambling to find out kind of replacements to the cards. We were excited because we wanted to talk with you about a couple of the fights that were on the card. Do you have anything that you see happening now that fight's not going down? Or
with me, what do I think would happen with the 205 division?
Yeah.
And, it's really weird. I'm wondering, they talked about, because I haven't kept up with it as much as until other hearing he had a cut. So it's off now? The fight is off?
Well, we're waiting on 100%. I think every report I've read has been 99%. They haven't officially announced anything from the UFC though.
Wow. See, are they going to try to pull somebody over to go to Sweden and fight? To fight
I think that's the biggest problem is having somebody who has a passport and has been in camp, accessible to get there on that time delay and every kind of change possible.
Still, the Mauler was who everyone wanted to see in this fight. Like, Gustafsson's the name on this card.
Yeah, well, and who wants to go in on a week's notice to Gegard?
Yeah.
Like, no joke. And tell me I'm going to fight Gegard, I'm going to sit there and go, oh, that sucks, but okay. You know what I mean? Like, no joke. I'm going to be like, oh, I still don't want to do this on a week, But that's, I guess, like, if you're already in camp and everything, or if you're, like, say you got another week or something, like you're supposed to fight on the finale, if there's a 205er like that,
yeah.
I mean, I can see it, but, man, on a week's notice to fight Gegard, who the heck is really going to take that? Where's Chael when you need him?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no kidding. He already covered one of the Ghost of UFC 151. He's hunting that down.
That's true.
If they do come up with an opponent for Gegard, what if he at the same time goes, no, that's a fight that I don't want right now.
And I mean,
what if that happens again?
I don't know. I think if you extrapolate a little further, though, you got your buddy Adam, who also has a fight going up against a Toro over there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely need to see Mr. Sella fight again. I love that guy. And then him and Thor, I think that's gonna be a good one.
Who do you have winning it?
All right, I'm gonna tell you like this. I'm a loyal fella. I'm gonna go with Adam Sella. But do I think that Thor is a guy that's supposed to win this fight? If you look at it on paper and you look at it of skill sets and things where you're going, yeah, probably. He's probably supposed to win, but man, I want Adam Sella to win, so I'm gonna pull for him.
How do you see Adam winning that fight?
How do I see him winning that fight? If he wins that fight, it'll probably be one of those. It'll probably be a decision where he had outstruck Thor and kept himself from being taken down.
Well, I think this transitions us nicely to questions that we're not quite sure what you can answer going into this week's Ultimate Fighter. Now,
let's give it a shot, boys.
All right. Well, based on your perception, how do you take being depicted in that commercial that they were playing for this week?
which commercial was it where they were showing like that I was having hard times or whatever, and that they had Clint coming up on the treadmill?
Yep. That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah. That honestly, it is what it is at that point. You know, they have it as, you know, they showed a part where I'm walking out with a little bandage on my arm and all that, and I don't think that I can say what's going on there yet, but you know, there was always a weight cutting issue and everything, and it's been talked about a few times, and you know, it's just more prevalent at that time. You know, I had to do it back to back again, so you know.
Yeah, well, back to back to back, total.
Yeah. That's you know, getting ready for my fourth weigh-in of the show, and you know, as being a big guy as myself, you know, that's an issue. You know, past that, you know, my confidence about everything at that point was, you know, I had a lot of things playing head games in my head, you know, because, you know, lack of nutrition, things like that at that point. You know, the next show,
it's the most infuriating trailer.
They've got me depicted as I'm trying to ditch the fight, and that's the way it is right now, and I think that's the way I have to leave it until y'all see what really happens. But
fair enough,
you know, because Hester was definitely, you know, looking for his way back in too, and you know, there's a few people that think that I shouldn't have had the wild card in the first place, and that he should have been there, and that's his shot back in.
All right. That in itself is a good promo for Tuesday's show. So we appreciate that. Because I know when Kevin and I watched it, you know, at two very different times, both reacting to it and just being like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What the shit is this?
Happened that everybody was looking forward to? Yeah.
Like, it looked like they put you underneath, like, a tree, just sleeping, just sitting there being like, guys, I'm gonna chill out. I'm on vacay right now.
Yeah. Who's ready to gamble? This guy is. Okay, well,
here's the thing.
They
once again,
me laying off on the side, you know, beside the bag, you know. I saw that one. I don't know exactly where they were trying to lead that part up to, but we'll see what happens.
Well, since you can't speculate on it, Kevin and I were wondering, you know, could we possibly just come up with the scenario that happens, considering you really can't talk about it?
Go ahead and come up with a possible scenario, yeah.
Okay.
That would be fun to look at.
We'll call this bit Crazy Theory Minute with Kevin and Raf, and Bubba could just kind of basically chuckle or not. He doesn't really, for those that aren't aware, he can't talk about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Raf, would you like to go first?
Yeah, okay. So in my first scenario, I have it that Uriah stole your journal. And you're very distraught about it because you wrote some very scandalous things about all of the rest of the cast members. And yet you're so emotionally distraught, you can't bring yourself to go fight him. You can't say yes or no. But what are your thoughts?
My thoughts on that is that if you've listened to anything of the cast talking, anything like that about me, if I had it written in the journal, I was going to tell it to them anyway. So if it was anything that was that distraught in there, they already knew it. So I'm a pretty upfront guy. You know, anything that I wanted to say to them, I said to them. You know, anything that I thought that, you know, needed to be said or that I was thinking at the time, I had no qualms about saying it if it came up. So.
Fair
anything
enough.
At that point, you know, you might want to take a different route on that one.
We'll consider it. Thank you.
Okay, so that was unofficially, that was Bubba not denying that he has a journal,
correct.
And there's a lot of important stuff written in it, just for those listening.
Yeah.
That's how, at least that's how I took it.
Kevin,
you can also tell I'm not within striking distance of Bubba
it's
currently.
very true.
There are benefits to doing this podcast in multiple locations.
It's true.
Gentlemen.
Kevin, do you have one?
I do have one, and I feel really good about this. So, because of all of the Twitter hatred, someone sends something to Bubba that just finally sets him into a depressive spiral. So much so that then Clint Hester has to come in and is consoling him and writes him a poem. And the entire next episode, we don't even see a fight. All we see is an emotional diatribe that goes into Clint Hester's writing that turns into an emotional moment where Bubba has to decide, is he going to let him take the spot and his poetry spotlight, or is Bubba going to keep the fight? That's my unofficial theory.
Well, you forgot to add that I cried.
Well, I didn't want to call you out, but that's definitely the trailer leads me to believe that we're going to see a lot of tears.
You know, that I would speculate as something that would be coming up.
Okay, and just to recap, that was Bubba not denying that Clint Hester is a poet and wrote poetry specifically for this next episode. So
he is a man of many different hats. How's that?
There it is.
Here we go.
Honestly, from what I've seen, I would have thought that Ted's serious right off the bat. That Clint Hester's in the fight. Like that's the way I would have looked at that, and I'll just be looking to see how I'd have made my way out of it. Like that from an outside perspective, that's what I would have seen.
Because I'll tell you this, these are the last remaining. We thought clear very hard about all of this. The other scenarios we came up with was that Uriah and you wore the same jersey one day, and you were very emotionally distraught about that. Dr. Phil comes to visit the house and gets inside your head.
Does a Tyson-like cameo.
Like that. You guys both want to walk out to the same walkout music.
And decide if neither of you can, no one's going to.
I like y'all stuff better.
And we are here to support you. And this is my last thought. You finally got tired of John Jones yelling out successories. Because this man is so positive. This is like the hardest thing to watch when I'm watching John Jones. Is just like he's so positive on this show.
He is honestly he is one of the guys that tries to help out at all times. You know, like he has a few things about him that are just awesome. And you know, he's had the road of up and down.
Yeah.
People have loved him, hated him, and then loved him again. You know, so. He's had to go through a bunch of different things. He just gives his insight upon everything, and how he goes into fights, how he views every fight. He's a young guy, but man, he's had a lot happen in this sport, and
Definitely
understands what he wants to do, and can relay that as a fighter to fighter perspective. Compared to he's got that camaraderie that you can't really get with a coach normally either. It's somebody that's been there, it's because sometimes you just don't want to listen to the guy that hasn't struggled like you have, and he's been up and down with everything, so he's always a positive dude to listen to.
Complete.
I love every second we get to see him coaching younger fighters, and I say that just to say, watching him obviously, and we're obviously fans. I don't know how you call yourself an MMA fan and not love John Jones' style and game, but every time you watch it, he just teaches you something about what goes through his brain in a fight, and that's been one of the best parts of this season.
Exactly. Yeah, he's always got, like I say, something for an insight on that stuff.
Well, cool. That's Bubba. We're gonna call that it. We've taken up 25 minutes of your time now, probably closer to 35. All right, man. You have a good evening, and good luck training this week.
Hey, man. Thank you. This week's the last push week, so it's gonna be the doozy.
Hey, man, go at it hard, dude.
No shit.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Bubba the Menace McDaniel. Always
Woo!
fantastic.
That was good.
Is he a ton of fun?
He's great, man.
This is the part of the show where Raf and I talk about the guest after we've ended the interview.
we have a post-fight memoriam.
And to our credit, we're dangerous. We're treading on dangerous ground here because the people we have as guests, we're not talking about like Ricky Gervais. We're not talking about someone that's going to make fun of us. We're talking about mixed martial arts fighters.
Yeah. Which I guess is when he was talking about danger and living on the edge, I can't think of anything more dangerous than making fun of fighters. Can you?
Not off the top of my head currently. That's up there.
That works for me.
So we did want to mention, you just showed me there is, Dana White just commented post our interview, what's going on with the Gustafsson fight. He's saying it's on.
Yes. Dana White, in true Dana White fashion, is saying, hey, don't listen to what anybody else is fucking saying other than me. I'm fucking saying this fight is going. But I'm wondering now if Dana's gonna like weekend at Bernie's this kid.
Well, it's not like he's not down for the count. I mean, he can walk. He's got a gash on his head, right?
What do we know right now? We know nothing.
That's true. I'm speculating. That's what I'm doing. You and that weekend at Bernie's, that's pure analysis. I'm the one.
Analysis based on the facts, on what we know up to this day. But here's the thing, and this is why this is doing this podcast semi-live is so crazy. This is all transpired in the time that we've talked. So we literally just talked to Bubba about these fights possibly getting canceled. And now Ariel Helwani says, hold on for a second, everybody. Maybe not.
I'm looking forward to finding out because this will not be the first time Dana has come out and said, no, it's definitely happening. And it turns out maybe it's not.
Right. And I mean, I'm sure Dana White's putting on a good face, but this is either way you cut this. This is troubling.
This is for the number one spot in the 205-pound division, right? Unless Chael's able to manipulate his way in for another one. Post this.
I got a great idea. I'm going to fight twice in 3 weeks.
Plus, I would think if John Jones, for some unforeseen reason, which we don't think is going to happen, lost to Chael Sonnen, obviously he would get a crack at that belt back, right? I mean, he's defended it a bazillion times to get technical.
I think it makes sense.
He better get a shot back. They better not Carlos Condit him and rob him right out of it. Just go for the ratings. I don't think they would.
You and your tiny violin that you play for Carlos Condit.
I like turning it into a verb for a bad decision, though, getting Carlos Condited.
Don't do that. That's disrespectful to that man and to the sport of MMA in general. Can we just say this? I don't dislike Carlos Condit, but you really are trying to make me dislike him.
Even though compared to me it might seem like you do, because... Okay. Just a reminder, you can get a hold of us on Twitter at VerbalTapCast. You can find us on our Buzzsprout site, but just look through Twitter. You'll find us a lot easier there. VerbalTap.buzzsprout.com. Oh, very easy. And we're pretty active on Twitter. Yeah. Coming soon, a Facebook group, so we can continue our hijinks and antics via the second most popular social media of this show.
Hey, we're also on Google Plus, if anybody used that shit.
Woo! If anyone knows what Google Plus is, you can find us there. And please, download us on iTunes, but don't just download us. Leave a little comment. Leave a little review over there in that section.
Yep.
All right, people. It's time to bring on our next guest. Here to comment on our Ultimate Fighter review and give us some in-depth analysis, Luke. Barnatt, Luke, how are you doing, sir?
I'm pretty good. I don't know how you could hold your breath through that whole analysis of the episode. That was pretty long.
Raf is pretty long-winded, so he's actually got no problem blowing hot air out as pretty much as long as people will listen.
I would like to point out that that's a minute long, so it's not that impressive.
It was 4 minutes long. It was at least 4 minutes long.
I was going to say that was not a minute long.
I would dare you to prove otherwise.
We have the tallest fighter from the Ultimate Fighter on the house. And Luke, talk to us a little bit about how your experience has been on the show so far.
I mean, the Ultimate Fighter has been, been the best experience of my life, I'd say, especially within the sport of MMA. I'm quite young in the sport, so to get the opportunity to be on the Ultimate Fighter, especially with coaches like Chael and John, it's definitely a big deal, and it's changed my life for the better. And I'm actually out in Oregon right now training with Chael for his fight with John Jones. So, it definitely.
Are you? So you stuck around with Chael's camp afterwards to get ready for the finale, or for the end of the year event.
I am. I flew home after the show, and then now I'm back out. I've been in Oregon now 7 weeks, so I've been training with Chael for 7 weeks straight to help him with John Jones and help me for my fight on the finale as well.
Yeah, you're probably a pretty good training partner for that, given you've got probably one of the longest reaches anyone's ever seen.
Well, I can emulate John Jones pretty well. Obviously, I'm not John Jones, and I'm not trying to say that, but yeah, I've got long limbs. I do his shitty little kicks to the leg and all that gay crap. I do that as well. So, I can be a pretty good training partner once we get Chad a little bit tired. He's definitely a bigger and stronger force than I am, but I try my best. So.
do you like it better in Oregon than you did in England? Because you spoke very negatively about that experience.
Now, listen, this is the problem with this whole England is a horrible place comment. Everyone has picked up on this, and I don't want to slam the Ultimate Fighter for it, but I feel like I've been tarnished as a Brit, because I'm very proud of England and I'm very proud of the UK. And what happened was they've taken a segment out of an interview that was probably about 10 minutes long, and I said, you know, I live in my gym, I live on a bed behind reception, you know, my gym's very split and sawdust. You know, it's the Tsunami Gym in Cambridge, England. It's a horrible place to live. But all they did was cut off all the beginning bit, and they had England. It's a horrible place to live, and that was the end. So they've made me look out like I'm a traitor and I hate the UK, when really I'm very proud of England, and I love Cambridge where I live. And I've always.
It sounded completely out of left field when we all heard it. It was just like, where did that come from?
Yeah, well, I think it was for the American fan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I am glad to set the record straight officially from MMA fans. Obviously, FX is trying to sell a product, so they're going to cut things a certain way, but you're telling us there was obviously more to the interview. Yeah,
definitely to that comment. I mean, I don't think England's a horrible place. I think the gym that I live in and my living situation is horrible. I was trying to explain that to become an MMA fighter and to get to high heights and push yourself to the limit, you have to give up a lot and make a lot of sacrifices. And I've made them in my living situation. You know, I live in a gym at the end of the day, and it's I just have a bed in the back room in a dirty gym. It's not very glamorous, because a lot of people think MMA fighters live glamorous lives, and that's not how it is.
Now, were there any other kind of comments that were taken out of that kind of context that you thought happened during the time on your show?
No, that was literally the only one. I thought the Ultimate Fighter have done a fantastic job of showing people in the right light, and every character that you see on the show, how you feel about those characters. You know, from me watching it, how I feel about them is how they were on the show and who they are. You know, I don't think they've tried to manipulate people or to make people come across like different characters or try and set people up. There's been a few things going around on Twitter, like I think Uriah was one of the guys that said, "Oh, that's bad editing," blah 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 blah. And I think, as of a whole, it's definitely not. I mean, it's just this one instance with me. I think they've taken that, made me look like my UK pride doesn't exist. But apart from that, I think they've done a great job of making you guys get a really realistic feel of the show. It's a great process, and the way they do it, it's brilliant. I think this has been the best show they've ever done, in my opinion. Not just because I'm on it. I've watched every series, so you know it's getting better every episode.
No, we agree. This season has been especially good.
Yeah, I mean, for loads of different reasons. Obviously, I think the cast they picked this time was very talented, and I was very proud to be part of this cast. You know, to be the highly talented cast, and everyone, you know, who's a killer in the house, and I got picked first out of everybody. You know, it's a good moment for me, and it's great to be a part of it. And I think they've also shifted the way they look at the show, rather than it being about the drama. Although you've got Bubba, you know, is a bit dramatic, cries every episode, you know, things like that. But you have backstories. Mainly, it's about the fighting. You know, you don't really see a lot about the house interaction. A lot of stuff happened while we were on the show. You know, there was a lot of altercations. A lot of people had problems, but they don't want to show that. They don't want you to know about that. They want you to know about the house, the fighting, and the training, and the coaches. I think the coaches have got a much better.
So, to switch gears a little bit, tell us about that last fight, because, man, from a crowd perspective, I'm not sure that's as much heart as I've ever seen going on between two fighters. You and Dylan had such a great mixed martial arts match, showed a lot of your jiu-jitsu, a lot of his wrestling, a lot of your both high-level striking. What did it take in that third round to just keep going slug for slug? Because you guys... Bubba McDaniel called it, he said it looked like a Rocky movie, and it did. Talk to us a little bit about that fight.
I mean that fight, for me personally, is mixed emotions. I mean, going into the fight with Dylan, I looked at him fighting, he fought Zach before that, and I actually watched his fight to get into the house, which I think was against a name called Tim Williams. Tim Williams, I think his name was. But Dylan's got very crisp striking, very, very good, accurate punches, and some good kicks as well. So in my head, going into that fight, I thought, finally, it's happened. I'm going to fight a guy who is not going to try and take me down, and I'm going to get to punch him in the face, and he's going to punch me back, and it's going to be brilliant. Because I'm not going to like my first fight was against Gilbert. I had to fight Gilbert, and Gilbert's 5'8" and built like a brick shithouse, and he's going to try and ram me on the fence and dump me on my head, which is like every single fight of my career, pretty much. And I was like happy. I was like, yeah, I got Dylan. You know, I know he's got good striking because I've seen it. You know, I was like, oh, he's going to want to stand with me because this and this and that. First thing happens, I come out, I throw a jab, and he takes me down. And I was thinking, for fuck's sake! Like I remember in the fight thinking, Jesus, got my language. Thinking, oh, like. I just want to stand up and hit each other, and he did the right thing, and it was unexpected. One of the things they don't talk about is when he fights Zach, he actually fought Zach for the whole fight. He fought him as a southpaw, and I spent like a whole week practicing fighting a southpaw, different combinations for that. And then when he came out and fought me, he fought me as an orthodox fighter.
Wow!
So he fought a completely different style. And he obviously fought orthodox because it was more of a offensive wrestling. He could use offensive wrestling as an orthodox fighter.
Sure.
So I was thrown off straight away. And going into the fight, I was thinking this guy's 16-4. He's been professional since 2005. You know, the guy is trained with, because we spoke a lot in the house. We actually cut weight together as well, which didn't show. Me and Dylan. We sat in the hot tub together, cutting weight like the day before, like chatting about the fight, talking, which was pretty cool. A few people have said it, but Dylan was the nicest guy in the house. You know, the most humble, the most relaxed, the most fun. He'd always be thinking of games that we could play, and we played like I don't know what he calls it. It's some silly game where you throw a tennis ball at a piece of wood. It's Australian or New Zealand. They call it racquetball or something, but he puts a piece of wood and you like pace back, and you have to throw a ball. It has to bounce, and then you catch it. Then you pace back, throw a ball. It sounds like you play it when you're 10 years old.
Yeah.
But you know, little things like that. Dylan added like the family environment, and he was a really, really cool guy. So to lose to Dylan, obviously I was pissed. It's the first time I've ever lost a fight in my whole life. My career's only been coming up to, I think I've been professional now, it'll be 2 years in April will be my, I've been professional for 2 years. So I was 5-0 going into the house. I'd never lost, and going into the house and going into this fight, I always used to say to myself, I don't know how to lose. Like before the fight, I've never done it. I don't know how to do it. So got in between rounds 2 and 3 after, you know, it'd been a tough fight. I'd never been here before. I'd never been to round 3 with someone who wanted it as much as I did, who wasn't going to back down, and had the skills to match it. You know, he came out in round 3. I felt fresher than him. I got up. I was pacing backwards and forwards. Yeah. I think you see Chael say, "Look, Luke, he's still on the stool. He's still on the stool, Luke." And then I'm thinking, I was supremely confident, and I come out in the 3rd round, and I thought, I've taken the will away from him. I'm going to take him out in this round, and I just came out a bit too fast again in that round, and he pinned me up against pinned me up against the cage, dropped a few shots, and you know that's what happens in fights. I just didn't know how to lose, didn't know how to give up, so I kept going. And even if you watch, I'm not going to say it was an early stoppage because I definitely took a lot of punishment, but I was still going. It wasn't over. I reckon I could have, if he'd have kept hitting me, I would have kept going. I definitely wasn't knocked out. I was on the ground. I was active. I was grabbing an ankle. My foot was on his hip. You know, I was looking for more things.
Yeah, I thought it was a quick stoppage from our side. I think it was just because of how much the two of you had exchanged, and it looked like both of you were just swinging with nothing left. I think that partially is what led to the stoppage.
I mean, this is the other thing I've had a lot of feedback from this fight, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, you know, you want to be in the UFC. You're a professional fighter. You know, you look tired." And they said it about me and Dylan, but people don't understand as well that wasn't a UFC fight. That doesn't count in the UFC. That fight was an Ultimate Fighter fight. So you're in a house training 2 times a day with people you've never really met before. You don't really know, with coaches that don't really know you. You can't train to your potential. You know, everyone in that house was 30% less of a fighter than they really are. You know, because my cardio from day one to that day where I fought Dylan, it was twice. It was horrible. My cardio was like half of what it should be. because I couldn't do long distance running. I couldn't do sprints. I couldn't do the things that I mentally do to prepare for a fight. I have to do what Chael Sonnen told me to do, which wasn't wrong. What he told me to do wasn't a bad thing, but it's not what I usually do. So, you know, it's same for Dylan, same situation for him, you know. So we both go into the third round looking tired when really we shouldn't be. We're professional athletes and we do everything we can, you know, to fight. And it's something hard for people to understand. But the Ultimate Fighter is a draining process, and I think that fight showed that how much it takes out of you to fight 3 rounds, and how much we did want it. I know you guys said how much we did want it. We really wanted to win. And all I got from that fight now, when I think about it, and when I watch it, I remember thinking I've got more left in the tank. Like when he hit me and I was rocked, I was like, then I dropped. I was like, I can keep going, and then the ref stopped it. You know, I just remember thinking I can keep going. So it was a tough fight, definitely.
I thought that it was really funny that, like, on Twitter, you had somebody who said, hey, man, you know, I thought it sucked that you lost the fight, especially since he was just laying on top of you. Your response was, do you know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Are you familiar with this process?
Yeah, the guy, I remember that tweet. Dylan was not lying on top of me. Dylan was avoiding submissions, trying to punch me in the face. I was on my back trying as hard as I could to do something, and he was stopping me from working. He was negating my jiu-jitsu. So Dylan did a great job. He had fantastic jiu-jitsu on the ground. It might not be the most exciting thing to watch, but he was doing the right things. So that guy's just an idiot.
From our perspective, when I was watching it, I thought you worked more from the bottom than I think I saw anybody else work on the show so far, and I just thought that was really impressive.
I mean, my open guard game, my jiu-jitsu game, this is the problem with the fight. I've got like a really, again, bittersweet. Yeah, my jiu-jitsu, it looks okay, it looks good, but I had the feeling in that fight, you know, like I had wrist control. I almost got a triangle, almost got an armbar. I was like, I'm going to get him. I'm going to catch him. I could feel like I could sense I'm better than this guy on the ground. I'm going to catch him. And the time just drained away from me. And then I had Chael going, get up. And I was thinking, no, I'm going to get him. I know I'm going to get him. And I should just got up. You know, although the jiu-jitsu was working, it wasn't fine cut enough for me to succeed and win the fight. So I think if I'd have just, like I did against Gilbert, my game plan against Gilbert was to negate jiu-jitsu. Forget jiu-jitsu even exists. Just stand up and punch him in the face, you know. And if I had that attitude against Dylan as well, I think I would have had a more successful, you know, fight. But I still think it was a successful fight. I'm pretty proud of it. So.
Well, we were glad to watch it, man.
Yeah, and that actually transitions us to someone else who thought it was a successful fight. Because anyone watching, anyone who sees you can see sort of the talent that's obviously there as your fight career develops. But Mike Tyson shook your hand and insinuated about your capability. What was it like to meet Mike Tyson?
Well, you see a little bit on the clip, but I was warming up, hitting pads before the fight, and I was hitting boxing pads. And my boxing trainer was Jamie Huey, was the guy I was hitting pads with. And I was hitting pads with him, and then Dana walks in the door, and I just ignored him because I was like, I'm warming up to fight, you know. I'm just warming up. Jamie, me and him were hitting pads. Then Tyson walked in the door. I didn't know, and Jamie just stops holding the pads for me, so like I'm throwing it, and he's just midway combination, he stopped. And he's just looking at, he's like, that's Mike Tyson. And I went, what? I'm like in the zone, ready to fight. And I turn around and go, shit, that's Mike Tyson. And he come over and said, oh, you know, guys, I just want to come say hello before you fight, to wish you good luck. You know, and I was like, that was pretty cool. And then we carried on hitting pads. And, you know, I fought and everything. And he came out to, you only see a little bit. I had like a 20-minute discussion with Mike. And it was really funny because he was telling me about, you know, like you said, when you're a champion one day, you won't even remember this day. This won't even be in your head, and you'll get stronger from this and all these things. But Dana White was coming over saying, Mike, we got to go, mate. Come on, it's time to go. And he was like, well, hold on. I'm just trying to explain this to Luke. Like, yeah, and I was like, Dana said, whatever Dana says goes, mate. Just leave. It's fine. You know, I appreciate it. But, he said, Dana White told me a story, like spoke to me for a little bit, shook my hand, and then said, right, Dana, I'm ready to go now. And then they left. And I was a bit like, that was pretty cool. So it was that was definitely a highlight of the whole series, the whole experience. 2 highlights was 3 highlights was meeting Mike Tyson, meeting Chael Sonnen, and meeting Randy Couture. Like 3 of the biggest names in sport, in fight sport, you know, that is, in my opinion. So it was pretty cool.
We do have to ask you, are you considering getting a tribal tattoo on your face, though? Now that you've met Mike Tyson, you've seen it, what's the likelihood we're going to see?
The latest guy to get a tribal tattoo on his face was, what was his name? The guy that fought Chael Sonnen in the WEC. What was his name? He fought him for the title. Cannot remember his name all of a sudden. But I saw him fight in Bellator, and he's got a tribal tattoo on his face as well now, which is pretty ridiculous. I can't remember his name now. And I definitely will not be getting a tribal tattoo. Never. It doesn't matter. Mike Tyson could pay for it and send me to a tattoo. I don't have a single tattoo. I don't think I ever will have a tattoo. I'm a bit of a I'm sort of like anti-society, but society is the wrong word. But society goes for I dislike. I don't know why I've got like this rebel inside me. And within MMA, the society is tattoos. MMA fighters have tattoos.
That's true.
Like,
you are sort of on the counterculture without them.
Yeah, so I am not getting a tattoo because I do not want to be a typical MMA fighter with a typical tattoo. But nothing wrong with tattoos, but that's not my style.
I think I just figured it out. You're talking about Paulo?
Paulo Filho, that's his name. Yeah, Paulo Filho has got a face tattoo.
I just saw a picture of it now that you brought it to our attention. Holy shit, that was a choice.
Yeah. And I actually watched it, must have been on IFL, I think it was, and he got destroyed for 3 rounds by some guy I'd never heard of. But so the face tattoo's not helping him, put it that way.
All right, so no to the face tat. Good to know.
Yeah. We're going to tentatively pencil you in as a maybe, but that's just for ratings. That's just us doing our own version of editing.
Well, I live my life by one rule. Maybe means no. So if I want to, yes. Say maybe, that means no. So fine, you can put maybe down. That means
That's
no.
pretty good. That's a pretty good wisdom for the listeners. Maybe means no. You heard it from Luke. So Luke, talk us through, where do you get your nickname from?
Oh, the BIgSlow.
Yeah.
This comes from my teammate who's already fights in the UFC, John Maguire. He's fighting at UFC 161 at lightweight. He's making transition down. My first day in the gym, I turn up and I was I'd never done any sport before, never boxed, never wrestled, never done anything. So I just went to an MMA class, and he basically ripped the piss out of me. Just started insulting me, saying I was because I'm quite tall, obviously, and he called me a lanky streak of piss, and and he's a gypsy, right? So you guys might find it quite difficult to understand me because of my accent. I'm in my hometown, and I'm talking to a guy who's got an accent I can't understand. Like, I don't have a clue what's happening. And he's with his brother, Tommy, who's another gypsy who fights as well. He's like 13 and 4, and he's a great fighter as well. And they're both, like, showing me stuff and talking across me, like, one standing on the other side. And they're going, oh, this guy, I couldn't understand a word they were saying. And I just looked at both of them and just went, what? What are you on about? And Tommy said, look at this guy, he's big and he's slow. And then John went, yeah, he's the BIgSlow. And that was it. First day in the gym, I got called. It's an insult. Basically, it's my teammate's insult. Big and slow. And it's stuck with me for the last 4 years. So I eventually learned to love it, and they nicknamed me it. So now I'm stuck with it. And again, I didn't want to be known as the assassin or, that's what the average MMA fighter does, and I'm not the average MMA fighter, so I'm known as the BIgSlow.
You got your nickname from 2 gypsies that taught you MMA. I think
that is it.
That is the coolest nickname story I've heard to date.
Yep.
That's good stuff. So we can expect to see you on some sort of gypsy reality TV show that crosses into MMA later on down. Let's send that to FX as an idea.
That's already been John got approached by a couple of companies asking him to do it, and he didn't want to embarrass himself. I was trying to get him to do it, to get him on TV as a gypsy MMA fighter, and I was going to be in the background, like pretend to be cool.
I would watch the shit out of that show. I've watched Gypsy Sisters, I've watched The Ultimate Fighter, and that sounds like the perfect middle ground.
Oh, completely.
Well, get on the phone to FX. Let's get it done.
Yeah, I might make that call. With this, we want development rights from this podcast for those listening.
You heard it here first, viewers.
Raf, do you have a word association game you'd like to play with the BIgSlow on the line here?
I would love to, and just give us your impressions. This is a word association game. We're just going to say a name or a word, and we want you to just react naturally, okay?
This sounds dangerous, but okay.
Please. You fight for a living. This is
I was going to say.
Dangerous. All right, here we go, my friend. Chael Sonnen.
The man.
Oh, I'm a big Chael Sonnen fan, too. So I'm in. I'll call him the man. I'll do it.
Dylan Andrews.
Top bloke.
Gilbert Smith.
Gigantor.
Can we get a little bit on that?
That was the nickname that he got given in house, like because we were talking about how people got their nicknames, and his is the specialist or something gay, and we said he said, oh, there was this one time when the MC just gave him a nickname and they announced him as Gigantor because he's huge, and we just every time he walked into a room for like the next 2 weeks, we all screamed and stood up and said Gigantor. So it was like Gigantor, like it was good. So that's why he's known as Gigantor.
I dig it. How about this? John Jones.
Cock.
Okay.
We're going to have to ask that you elaborate on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not the biggest John Jones fan. I don't know if you guys know, but I actually write a blog. And
what
if you
is it?
have read my blog, it's called Banter with BIgSlow. It's on a website called MMAplus.co.uk.
Very cool.
I also post it on Sherdog, so if you go on the Sherdog forums, on the Ultimate Fighter forum, there's my blog on there, and I share my opinion of John Jones on there quite a lot. So I'll leave it at that. You want to know my opinion? I will do. I'll tweet it over to you guys. But if you want to know my opinion, just read my blog.
You got it, man. We'll retweet that out to our followers.
I know. I'm definitely going to read it now. I'm interested. I got to hear what he thinks of John Jones.
How about this one? Ronda Rousey.
Manish.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah.
I got another one. Can I change that one?
Yes please.
Cankles.
Cankles?
The woman has got like judo ankles, because everyone bangs on about her being. Like, I'm not. Ronda Rousey was cool. Like having her on the show was cool. She's a really cool girl. Not good fun, but she's like hanging out with a man. Like she made some really inappropriate jokes that I found hilarious. She was a cool girl, but everyone's like, oh, she's attractive, and yeah, she's quite good looking and all the rest of it. But she's got like from years of judo and like judo sweeping people, she's got really thick set big ankles. And I just don't like it. That's enough for me.
Hey,
fair enough.
One man's opinion. We'll take it. How about this one? We're going to end with this word association: the BIgSlow.
Future champion. That's a good one. I like that.
All right, that's a good one.
That is a good one. That's a future champion. Yeah, because we always like to ask what's next for Luke Barnatt, but you seem like one of those people that is definitely destined for some big things in this sport.
I'm a driven man. Like I've only been in the sport a very short time, and I feel like I've got everyone's a bit sad and people say about like dedication and all that stuff, but I am literally the most dedicated man on the planet. Like the moment I got home from the show, I started training and I come out to Oregon. I've been training for 2 months for this shot. The next thing I've got is I'm fighting on the finale.
Yeah, we know.
It'll get announced soon, and I think the performance I put on the finale will prove where I'm going and what's going to happen with my career, because I plan on making a big statement and doing big things. So, I'm looking at going places in the sport everywhere as well. I'm a guy who can talk, I can fight, and I can do everything in between. So a lesson learned from my man Chael Sonnen is, you guys might be part of the fight game. I'm part of the fight business. It's 50% fighting and 50% of the rest of the stuff, and I can do it all. So I look forward to being a part of everything to do with MMA, not just fighting in the octagon.
Well, that takes us into Raf and I want to extend an open invitation. So anytime we can get you back on, we would love to hear how your fight career continues, because we're both fans of the BIgSlow. That was Luke BIgSlow Barnatt. Not disappointing in the interview column, by the way.
Not at all. No.
Boy, this is an action-packed show. Bubba McDaniel and Luke Barnatt, arguably two young fighters with bright stars on and off the octagon floor. They're going to be good.
Yeah, man, that was pretty awesome to hear his insight. Loved hearing how he got his nickname. A lot of the insight into the fight.
Great nickname story. I mean, top 5 nickname story.
We hear that on the show.
I don't know. That had to. They should interview people about their nickname. Hey, you're welcome, FX, for another gold idea.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's end this thing. It's been like an hour and 40 minutes worth of fun for you and I, but we're gonna have to edit this guy down and give the people a nice finished product.
Well, they don't know that. It's going to be 20 minutes by the time they listen to it.
Exactly. Just good pull quotes and none of you and I. I think that's the important ingredient.
No context. Just lots of random quotes throughout.
From all of us over here at Verbal Tap, we want to do some quick shout-outs. Andrew Correa, happy news as his beautiful baby daughter is born yesterday.
Congratulations.
Isn't that fantastic? Everyone's healthy. Awesome. Everyone's good. BJJ and MMA Academy. Jump on BJJ Finder. For those of you in MMA world, check out where some local gyms are near you, and No Concept out in Maryland. That does it for me, Raf.
Kenny Bell, thank you for retweeting out our podcast. We love it. Mark Phillip, we hope that our podcast helps to make whatever law bullshit that you're doing much easier, especially in the mornings. Valley Martial Arts Center out in North Hollywood. We love you guys. You guys are great. John Evans, you got to really get on making me better at jiu-jitsu because people are coming after us. And Lisa Falconer, thank you for being so good. We love that you're a fan of the show, and we hope you come back to listen for more.
That does it for both of us at Verbal Tap. I'm Kevin Phillips. Thanks for listening.
Good night. Good fight.
Raf, do the 4-minute Ultimate Fighter review.
Oh, we changed the name of it? That's
awesome. We haven't changed the name of it. Kevin's just being a fucking D-bag.